2026 marks 60 years since the closure of the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, a line that for many people was far more than just a railway. When the last trains ran in March 1966, it brought to an end more than a century of railway life stretching from Bath Green Park to Bournemouth West. Those stations, once busy and full of sound and movement, suddenly fell quiet. The Somerset and Dorset was born in 1862, the result of an amalgamation between the Somerset Central Railway and the Dorset Central Railway, created to link rural communities between the Bristol Channel and the English Channel. By 1863, trains were already stopping at Shillingstone, carrying livestock, milk, goods, commuters, and of course holidaymakers heading for the seaside. It became a railway with real character, steep gradients over the Mendips, hard-working locomotives, and famous trains like the Pines Express, bringing passengers all the way from the north of England down to Dorset. Yet by the 1960s, times had changed. Road transport was growing, costs were rising, and in 1966 the line closed. The track was lifted and stations along the route were left abandoned and without trains. For many places that would have been the end, but at Shillingstone Station, the only surviving example of a design from the Dorset Central Railway, the story didn't quite finish. In the early 2000s, a determined group of volunteers stepped in, secured the site and began the slow, careful job of bringing it back to life. That effort became the North Dorset Railway. Today, when you visit, you can see restored station buildings, a working signal box and track relayed through the platform once again. The museum tells the story of the old line and the people who worked it, and the ambition doesn't stop there. Plans continue to extend the track and reintroduce passenger services in the years ahead. Alongside the station restoration is something equally exciting, Project 62. This is a dedicated effort to restore two Yugoslavian-built Class 62 steam locomotives, compact, powerful engines based on a wartime design and perfectly suited to heritage railways. The work is detailed and painstaking, boilers, motion, pipework, all carefully rebuilt by volunteers and specialists. And when they steam again, they won't just sit on display. Their work, their move, they bring that unmistakable sound and presence of steam back to life. Interested in finding out more, we went along to Shillingstone to talk to two of the people who are part of the driving force behind both schemes. We have Gavin Collins, who is the chair of the North Dorset Railway.
Good morning.
John Rice, who is the chair of Project 62, which is also based at Shillingstone. So gentlemen, can we start basically at the beginning of how we got here?
Oh my goodness me. I mean, that's 25, 30 years of development, right? So it's a fairly long story. But obviously the railway closed in 1966, along with all the rest of the line under the beaching cuts. And this particular station building survived. It was used for a variety of different purposes through the 70s and 80s. And by the 90s, it was really getting very tired. But it was still in use, I think, to do some furniture restoration. A group of individuals got together and decided it was worth preserving. And it's worth preserving because it is the only Dorset Central Railway building to survive.
Wow.
Now, interestingly, though it's a Dorset Central Railway design and built, it actually opened as a Somerset and Dorset.
Right.
So you're into some interesting messing around with the dates, but Dorset Central Railway ceased to exist in 1862 or something like that, and the railway opened in 1863. But they used the Dorset Central pattern. So it has some historic interest as a building. The group got together in the 90s. And in 2004, they managed to get a lease from Dorset Council for 99 years to run this location as a museum and eventually an operating railway. And so the last, since 2004, a lot of work undertaken by lots and lots of different people, but a rebuilding of the down shelter, a rebuilding of the signal box, rebuilding the porter's hut, the track's been laid, and bringing it up to the present. We're focused now on going operational, hopefully later this year or certainly early next.
That's because you've just laid some track, haven't you, up to the bridge?
We've laid a track across the bridge. So the bridge was due to be demolished by Dorset in about 2014, Dorset Council. There was a campaign to save the bridge and a commitment from Dorset to lease the bridge to the North Dorset Railway and to allow North Dorset Railway to run trains across it. Step forward 10 years, we got the lease signed last year. So we were laying track across land that we had permission, and we had the commitment to the lease, but we didn't actually get the lease until I think it was September last year. Yeah. So but we've got the track extends now up to Lambhouse Bridge, across Lambhouse Bridge to the buffer stop, which is just over the cattle creep.
Amazing.
Which is still there, buried underneath all the undergrowth.
And have you got ambitions to go further on, or?
The railway definitely has ambitions to go to Sturminster Newton.
Really?
Sturminster Newton's about 3 miles.
Yeah.
But the next block of land is owned by the Countryside Regeneration Trust, and at this point in time, they have said no.
Okay.
So whether that changes in the future with a change of leadership or a change of decision what they do with the land, we don't know. But we've been blocked.
Yeah.
We got that confirmed from them last year, really, after a couple of years of uncertainty. So our aspiration is to go south, and we're working on a project at the moment to go as far south as Holloway Lane. Holloway Lane is the next bridge going towards Blandford. And there's a couple of advantages for us for Holloway Lane. One is that there is a farm down there that we hope to be able to acquire some land. It's a Dorset Council-owned farm, so and Dorset want to sell off their farms, so we hope that we can acquire some land. And there's hopefully under a community. I forgot the name. There's a method for the council to do that to charities, and we are a charity. So we hope that they'll transfer some land to us, and we'll get permission to use the trailway. So the big challenge for us is that whilst the track bed exists and is in really, really good nick, and I'll talk about the bridge in a second, but the track, because it's used for walking, cycling and horse riding, we would have to relocate the trailway off of the track bed. So that's, although it's not quite as complex as building a railway, to build a path suitable for horses is still going to be a massive job. So to go south, and it's about just over a kilometre that we want to go next. It's going to be a big job. So
there's not enough existing room on the existing track bed to host the railway and pedestrians and horses.
Well, it was so Somerset and Dorset was single track as a railway with double track sections. So Shillingstone, all the stations had passing loops. So we had this as you look out there, you can see it's double track, and there were sidings that extended both up towards the bridge and quite a long way south. They were, if you look at the books, they were intended for 40 wagon trains. So they're quite some length. Yeah. So it's wide for a while, but it does narrow. Yeah. So it's juggling, and there's a cutting, which also is single track. So there's a few areas where it's more complicated than others. But it's in pretty good nick. The bridge, we had a lot of work done on the bridge to make sure it was safe. We've had it certified for a Black 5 in terms of weight, and that's without any additional work being required on the bridge.
Would Black 5s have worked on the Somerset and Dorset?
Yes. Yeah.
So my memory of, well, not memory, because I'm sadly too young, Pictures of 9Fs and things being promoted. Power.
Yeah, 9Fs, Black Fives, five standard
Didn't they
class
haul a lot of
fives.
the aggregate wagons from the Mendits, or am I thinking the wrong way?
I've not seen many pictures of aggregate trains actually on the Somerset and Dorset.
I know
so there was, in the 60s, they were still just about running trip goods trains.
Yeah.
And they would have been pulled by anything that I think was available. Whether they would have been the larger engines, there's a few great pictures of, dare I say, a GWR Pannier doing that trip freight for a couple of years in the late 60s. I know the Jinsey was used a few times, the 3F. Most of the pictures that have been taken are passenger trains.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's Black Fives on those. I haven't seen that many. Not that I've looked, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm sure someone could prove me wrong, because there are hundreds of photographs out there.
Yeah.
And there may well be a Black Five pulling an aggregate train, but I haven't seen a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the moment, moving on to John, Project 62, you're restoring 2 Yugoslavian tank locos?
Yeah, Project 62 started back in the 1990s, initially buying 1 loco from Yugoslavia, and later in the early 2000s bought a second one. They are both a Yugoslav development of the original American shunting engines that were built as part of the war effort. The Yugoslavs inherited some at the end of the war. They liked the basic design, so they started building their own. So one of our locos was built in 1954, the other one was built in 1960.
Oh wow!
So relatively new.
Yes. Yeah.
And the biggest difference from the originals is the chassis is a more conventional plate frame chassis rather than the bar chassis, which then ended up requiring the boiler to be set a little bit higher. So the engines look a bit taller than the original ones, and to get the steam pipes to join up, there's a crank in the outside steam pipes, which is noticeable if you compare photographs. But essentially it's the same design.
Yeah.
The wheels, the valve gear, boiler, all that sort of stuff is the same design. The first one that came to this country in the 90s initially went to Swanage. They did a lot of work on it, put it back together, full overhaul, and because the European loading gauge is more generous than UK, the 2 locos that we bought are slightly wider in terms of the tanks and the cab and bunker and so on. So Swanage modified the first one to bring it within UK loading gauge, and it ran successfully at Swanage for a while, and then spent time at various other railways, eventually ending up at the Mid-Hunts, and it last steamed I think about 16 years ago, something like that, prior to the overhaul we've just finished. So both locos came here 10 years ago, so it's taken us a while to get 30075 up and running.
Yeah.
But we've achieved that, and we've gone through some fine tuning, just finishing it off, and we're now making a start on the second loco, which has never run in this country. So not only does it need an overhaul, but it needs slimming down as well.
Right, so there's a lot of work there too.
And it also needs other equipment adding to it, so it can pull heritage trains, for example vacuum brakes. Was there any work with steam brakes, so we've got that modification to do, and ultimately we'll need steam heating on it if it's going to pull carriages.
So do you hope to run the locos here, or are you looking?
Well, we'd love to, but we need these guys to lay a bit more track.
We're a small railway, and we would love to. Our vision is definitely to have a steam train pulling Somerset and Dorset railway coaches. That's what we want to. That's what we're working hard to try and achieve. The reality is that we've still got a lot of track that we need to lay, and we would need to be attracting quite a lot of passengers to pay for that.
Yeah.
And at this point, I don't think we're going to get there. So we need to extend, and so we're young. We've got a fair few years to develop, but we'd love to have them running. And that's,
running steam engines is expensive.
Yes.
Overhauling them is expensive.
So
30075, say, is pretty well up together now. So later this year, we're looking to get it out on hire to start earning some money. We can see that NDR are not going to have enough business to make a financial case to run it here a lot in the short term. What we would like to do, as this will be the base for the engine, is run it here for special events, special occasions, whatever that may be. And obviously working with NDR, we'll see what opportunities we've got, because there's no doubt the steam engine attracts visitors.
Yes, absolutely.
And visitors means income for both Project 62 and NDR. So we're all trying to go in the same direction, but as Gavin said, it's a small organisation here at the moment. We're just setting out on the journey, so we need to be realistic on what we can do and when we can do it.
So if anyone wants to help and donate, if they go to your website,
absolutely,
they'll link on there. So we'll put some links
in the description
and blah blah blah. So if anyone wants to help, please do.
Yeah, and if anyone's local and wants to come and volunteer, we're always looking for new volunteers. So
fantastic. Have you always been interested in railways, or did you do more engineering, or?
My background is civil engineering. I've always had an interest in steam trains. And I've been a member of various railways for decades. But as I guess with a lot of people, when retirement comes, there's different opportunities. And I always wanted to work on a steam engine and learn a bit more about it. It all came together. Oh, absolutely.
And I know, Gavin, you're a alumni of Henry Harbin, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, indeed. So
Paul secondary high school. These days.
Paul High School.
That's the one.
Yeah, very very kindly, closely located next to the railway line. So that, as you said before on your podcast, we can look out the classroom windows and watch the trains go by.
Didn't do much learning. It was look at what they were. It's always great.
And I've been interested since then. So
So
I was actually interested before then, but
but that ignited the flame.
Piqued your interest a lot.
But I haven't been involved in heritage. I ended up running off to find some work and then working, and I used the train for travelling, but many years not particularly focused on railways until I started to get some more free time, and
that's what brought you here.
Well, I'd always wanted to come. So I've lived in Sussex for about 20 years, and before that I was moving around. And so Sussex, I was really interested in the trains in Sussex. I used to travel on them every day to London. I got back into railway modelling. I built a model of Crawley Yard, and then I built a model of Sturminster and a model of Shillingstone. And then my wife and I, we come from here, and so we always wanted to come back. And I just took early retirement, came back, and my vision in my 50s was to work on a heritage railway, and this was the closest one, so it's very convenient. I've been a member here since about 2013, 2014. So,
fantastic.
Do you still have your model railway those?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm a Bournemouth show in a couple of weeks' time with it. So I've just done a rebuild. So my model of Sturminster will be out.
Just one final thing. We are in quite an historic coach.
So we are in a Victorian coach. We call it the Cannington coach because it came out of Cannington. You can't see it, but you can take a picture before you go. The picture on the left up there is of how it was as the tennis club in Cannington before it got moved into somebody's house. So it must have come off the railways probably in the 30s or 40s. It ended up as the tennis club at Cannington. And then it went into somebody's garden. They chopped the end off, which is why it's shorter. And it got lifted out of Cannington, the house in Cannington last year, and we have it on loan from the Somerset and Dorset Railway Trust, and we hope to restore it at some point into the brake coach, which you can see in that second picture if you want to click that later.
I'll
grab that. Yeah.
We will restore it as one of those. We want one of those because we have two other coaches, but they're just straightforward compartment coaches. We would like to be more disabled friendly, and so having a brake van where we can have a ramp and double doors is what we want to have. We need a brake van anyway, so actually a brake coach would be ideal. So we'd like to restore it as the brake coach. As it hasn't got an end, it would be a rebuild. So might as well. So that's the plan. So this is probably 1890, 1890, something like that.
Okay.
Original.
And looking at the quality of the work on some of those wagons as we walked in, it's going to be amazing, I think.
It is, and the challenge with everything outside is that everything continually needs to be repainted and and forever growing, shrinking, and everything else. So it's a bit of a nightmare. So part of our future aspiration is where do we have sheds, and that's part of the reason we're looking at going south, because we've got potentially room there to put more stuff under cover, which is the only way really to preserve in the long term. You can do the band-aid stuff with painting, but it's tough having teams of people that come every week to do painting. And lots of people love doing it, so it's great, but it's not there are probably other things that would be better to have people doing. So
because your loco is undercover, isn't it?
We have a shelter to work in. There isn't a loco in at the moment.
Oh, okay.
There's parts of a loco in there. But the shelter is not ideal, but it was a massive step forward for us because it did mean pretty well every day we turn up we can work. In the winter, condensation can be a problem, so painting can be an issue. But to be out the wind and the rain is a real plus. And
the material's not great for a steam engine.
We wouldn't light up in it. I think we could all see that one go well. No.
We would like to replace it. We're working on a project to replace and have a longer shed there. We're in the 200 to 300,000 pound mark to do it, and we don't have any money yet. So we're working through the design at the moment. So we'll be announcing that sometime this year and be looking for donors. So if you're listening and you fancy donating to a good cause, we'd our restoration and maintenance shelter this year. Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
All I would say is NDR and Project 62 are both small organisations. We are both very keen for people to come along and join us. We're an open and friendly bunch. When I started, there were 3 regular volunteers on Project 62. In 5 years, we've grown to typically 10, 12 of us here on a Wednesday. There's other people that come as and when they can. So we've grown in number, which has helped. NDR have been successful in attracting more volunteers, but the pace of development is primarily down to 2 factors. It's volunteers and it's funding. There is no external funding for Project 62. NDR have had very little external funding, so it's what we can earn, it's what people donate. Any funding is always very welcome. We're always looking at opportunities to raise money. But as I say, we're always open to people if they'd like to come along and volunteer. And we're not looking for people with engineering skills. In fact, if you look at Project 62, people say, you must all have an engineering background. Well, we've got a locksmith, we've got a civil engineer, we've got an airline pilot, we've got a fire and rescue officer. We have got all sorts. But if people want to get involved and they are willing to come and help, we're all in it together. None of us are experts, we're learning together, we're growing together. And I think NDR generally
and we're the same. We most of our income comes from our cafe, so that's volunteer-led, volunteer-run. We've got a big project to comply with our planning permissions to plant trees. So if you fancy coming and planting some trees, we'd love to have you.
We saw them on the way in, sort of planting.
So we've got a lot of planting to do this year. We've got, we now inherited nearly a kilometre of embankments we've got to maintain. So we've got a lot of permanent way embankments to do. So there's lots of different roles, and we have a lot of people that work away from the station doing press, PR, websites, membership. So there's definitely something for everybody at a heritage railway like this one.
Yeah. So you're open on a Wednesday?
We're open Wednesdays, Saturdays and Sundays, and occasionally bank holidays. And I think we'd like to do more bank holidays because they're popular with the locals, and so we get a lot of people in on bank holidays. Yeah. And we want to go operational. So whether hopefully we'll be running trains at the end of this year, but definitely next year. So we've got a brake van, which will be coming out of our storage shed imminently, which has been fully restored and is ready to go. All our crews are ready to go. We've just got to get the ORR to agree that we can run the trains. So our fingers are crossed that we'll get that through that in the next 6 months, and then we're ready to go.
So exciting times ahead.
Exciting times, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much, Gavin and John, for talking to us. Like I said, we'll put the links in the description, and if you have a few spare quid, please donate.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
When you arrive at Shillingstone, there's really plenty to see and do. Around the station you'll find exhibits, historic wagons and locomotives, beautifully restored buildings, and museum displays that bring the old Somerset and Dorset vividly back to life. There's a cinema wagon and a shop where you can pick up souvenirs, books and detailed railway models to take a little piece of the experience home with you. One feature that attracts particular interest is the range of model buildings from Rose and Rose Models. Founded by father and son duo Brian and Joe Rose, both active volunteers for around 10 years, their first series of releases is based directly on the structures found at Shillingstone Station. What makes these models truly special is the level of detail. They haven't just recreated the outside of the buildings, they've carefully replicated the scale interiors as well, in remarkable accuracy and detail. You can view those interiors by lifting off the roof or by simply peering in through the glazed windows. It's craftsmanship that mirrors the dedication you see across the whole site. And if all that exploring leaves you ready for a break, Shillingstone Station also boasts a welcoming cafe, the perfect place for refreshments, a cup of tea and a chance to sit and take it all in. The setting itself is something rather special. The River Stour flows gently nearby, adding to the peaceful atmosphere, and the view across the railway tracks towards Hambledon Hill, an ancient hill fort, is wonderfully panoramic. And for those who enjoy stretching their legs, there are excellent walks in both directions along the North Dorset Railway. So, 60 years after closure, this isn't simply about remembering what was lost. It's about honouring the people who built the line, who worked it, who travelled on it, and who refused to let its story fade away. The Somerset and Dorset was never just steel and steam. It was communities connected, it was livelihoods supported, it was families setting off on holiday, and goods trains working through the night. And although the main line trains no longer run between Bath and Bournemouth, the spirit of that railway is still here. It's here in the restored buildings, it's here in the volunteers giving their time. It's here in every sleeper laid, every bolt tightened, every locomotive part carefully rebuilt. At Shillingstone, they are not simply preserving history, they are continuing it. And as trains return, as visitors gather, as new generations discover the story for the first time, we are reminded that railways are never just about journeys between places. They're about journeys through time. 60 years on, the Somerset and Dorset still has the power to bring people together. And here at Shillingstone, that story is not over. It's alive, it's growing, and it's moving forward, just as it always did.
This episode of the Railway Dogcast was recorded at Shillingstone in February 2026. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe.